Movie. Thank you, everybody. How's everyone doing? Right, well, we are here. Let me see, moderate health off here and program, but really I'm privileged to be able to be with our explorers. What did you call them? Soldiers in the human experience. Alexa, Jordan, and Karen. Thank you for being with us. So I think that each one of our soldiers here can introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their experience. But I wanted to start with a question. So maybe I'll start with you, Alexa. Can you just tell me a little bit about why talking about suicide and talking about how you feel and your journey is so important? Certainly was to the friends we met in the movie. Why is it important to you?
Well, it's important, one, to, of course, break the stigma, and to start the conversation of hope and, in talking about my story, like, it's been incredibly healing and cathartic, to share it and, just kind of connect with people who have been through it, and to hopefully provide hope.
Thank you. Jordan, how about you?
I believe that talking about suicide is important because it shines a light on an otherwise taboo subject. Talking about it opens the door for communication so that others don't have to feel so alone. It can help people understand each other's situations and experiences, as well as help break down the severity of the topic. It's the same with talking about mental health in general. It's kind of considered a weakness or something that's bad. To have those thoughts and feelings that are perfectly normal and okay to have. It's okay not to be okay in every moment of your life. And actually, a couple of years ago, I watched a video and it was about a woman who was reciting a poem. It was by a person named Hannah Gaines, and the poem was called "Don't Kill Yourself Today." It started out kind of absurd as a poem, but kind of in the best way possible. It's don't kill yourself today because you still have a week left on your free Netflix trial. It continues with don't kill yourself today because there's leftover chicken in the fridge that no one else is going to eat. Don't kill yourself today because I'm still coming up with reasons and you have to hear all of them. And then she continues with anything that you say that keeps someone alive is worth saying. And I think that that statement itself encapsulates why talking about suicide is important, because it doesn't really matter what you say or how you approach the subject. What's important is that you do say something. And that showing that you care and that you're there is what's important.
And I want to add to what Jordan had to say, in that I remember a counselor saying to me one time, "You have anything to live for." And I thought about it, and she was probably thinking, I was going to say my brother or, my cat. And I said, "Really go for a lemonade." And to this day, I still joke that fresh squeezed lemonade saved my life, and we never know what it is that we're going to say that's going to connect with somebody, and to just be open to that connection. I know for me, I talk about suicide because when I was young and I thought I was the only one that thought that way, and I was so ashamed, and I couldn't talk about what I was thinking. I just acted on it. And when I learned that there were other people that thought the same way I did, found out I wasn't alone. And there wasn't nearly as much shame in it when it wasn't something that was unique to me.
So we're talking about it, something that brought you out of the loneliness?
So I still struggle with suicidal thoughts, but like he said at one point, he said that he was talking about hope. And he was talking about how he didn't want to die today. And even though I have the thoughts and I have sometimes even have to get help in order to not act on the thoughts, it's not what I want for my life today.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing to reflect on. It's not what you want for your life. Can you tell me, Alexa, what in this movie resonated with you around hope and also despair?
Well, a lot of the movie resonated with me. In 2020, I lost my dad. He died by suicide. And I'd struggled for 3 years up to that. And a lot of the burden on family and stuff like that, was a lot of my dad's experience and seeing he felt like he was a burden and that, I was better off without him. But on the same side, or on the flip side, like it's also given me purpose, to help others, and to try to make a difference so that no one experiences what I've gone through. And the movie was really powerful and
Jordan, what about you? What resonated with you in the movie in terms of what it spoke about hope and despair? And Alexa, thank you for sharing that with us. I think the pain of going through it, but the pain of witnessing someone you love go through it and not to have been able to do something is constantly there.
Something in the movie that resonated for me was, I forget exactly which one of them talked about it, but one of them talked about having OCD tendencies and kind of how the stress and wanting to have control over their life kind of brought those tendencies onto his life. And for me personally, I had a very similar experience to where if you didn't go along with those patterns or rituals, like he talked about how when he pulled away from the door, he only touched his palm with 4 fingers instead of all 5, and dreading what that meant and kind of trying to do mental gymnastics on how to go about dealing with that. And the fact that the hope part is that you're not alone. I remember when I was going through that, it was something that I didn't talk to anyone about, actually. I remember in school once I heard about what OCD was, and I remember saying, oh, that kind of sounds like what I do. And another classmate kind of was like, oh, you don't have that, you're fine. And so I kind of just brushed it off after that for a while until I actually started talking about mental health. And I think the idea of talking about people's experiences and what you've gone through can help others, because you never know what someone else is going through. And if they're going through something similar, even just hearing that someone else is doing it too can kind of help.
Thank you. And I am by no means the only person who should be asking questions. So if anybody wants to ask a question, please raise your hand. Because we have these brave folks talking to us about this. So, Karen, tell me, over your lifetime, what have been those things that have been able to bring you to the realization that you want to live today? That's sort of a huge question.
It is a huge question, and a big a big part of it is that I never wanted to have kids. And I ended up connecting with a man who had 4. And shortly after we moved in together, we got custody of the 2 youngest boys. And I became a mom. And a big thing for me is that I lost my nephew to suicide. And when Hoyt died, I immediately got in my car and drove to my sister-in-law's house. And I stayed with her for several days and watched her go through her grief and was there with her through that. And swore I never wanted to do that to anyone ever again. And that I would ask for help if I got to that point again, which I have done. And I never want to do that to my children. I never want to do that to my grandchildren. I never want to do that to my husband. You know, I want to be there for them and with them. And it's that connection with family for me that keeps me going.
Anyone else want to share?
What was the?
The question was just when you were dealing with your father,
Mhm.
what is it you would have liked to ask him? So I'm totally asking a different
No,
question.
you're totally fine.
What is it you would have liked to ask him now, if you could?
What could I have done? I mean, I felt like me and my family had done everything under the sun that we could. And unfortunately, you know, things happened and, I have some guilt, like I could have, if I had just stayed home, maybe it wouldn't have happened, you know? And yeah.
So Dr. Joyner talks about new, small, caring acts of connection and purpose are integral to suicide prevention. So Jordan, how do you witness that playing out in your community? You know, how do you witness those sort of acts of compassion and purpose? Do we do that well? Do you see it? What could we do better?
I would say yes, it definitely is going on in the community. Let's say for like young adults or children. There's a lot of programs at like school, like you can join a team. Or join like a music program or theater or something like that, art. I think the act of joining something with a purpose and joining it with other people who have similar interests kind of brings a sense of community. And I do think that we do it well, even for adults as well. There's like run clubs people can join or book clubs, join NAMI. A lot of different things that our community has that people can join.
So tell us about NAMI and how NAMI makes a difference in your life.
So it stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, largest grassroots mental health organization. If I remember the story correctly, it started as just a group of people who started in the kitchen talking about mental health. Grew into this great organization. I joined in 2020, kind of during the pandemic, and there's a lot of stuff that was going on in the world at the time. And I was being a pain to my dad about it. And I was kind of just arguing with him every day pretty much. And one day he kind of just said, pick an issue that you are passionate about, and then go from there. If you're not passionate about something or it can't resonate with you, then why would anyone else want to listen to you? And that was also the first year that I learned about my mental health. So that's kind of why I picked that and started volunteering for it.
Yeah, you did. a fabulous job.
You didn't even look at his notes either, like, you know, like I wouldn't have been able to pull that out. I mean.
Remembered it from my speech.
Right. Alexa, what about you?
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
sorry. I keep. Yeah,
You're good.
Yeah.
You're all good.
sorry.
No worries.
Alexa, what about you in terms of your connection with NAMI, in terms of how does it bring compassion? How do we do about compassion?
Well, I could go on all day about NAMI New Hampshire. I joined almost this, immediately after losing my dad, and I truly feel like I have a second family. And, I've just been so blessed to be able to meet people and like hear other stories and know that like the feelings that I was feeling of like relief after losing my dad was validated, and I wasn't like you're a bad person for feeling like that. But it's just been incredible, and I've had incredible opportunities. Me and Jordan are starting a men's mental health initiative, so that'll be coming out hopefully soon. And yeah, NAMI has just been really important and making a difference in the communities. I work at a mental health center, and they've done trainings there, and they just really bring people together and say, hey, are you okay? Or it's just that friendly face.
Thank you, Alexa. Karen, how do you talk with your kids and your grandkids about this?
It's funny because my granddaughter, when she was in high school, she's an adult now. My husband's older than I am, and I've been a grandma since I was young, so. But when she was in high school, we talked, in junior high, she had, attempted suicide. And, we connected after that. We'd been connected before that, but we connected and talked about it quite a bit after that. And in high school, she actually started a club where they talked about these things. They created a video. It was 13 stories, from different students and teachers about why they wanted to live. And, I was so proud of her, and we talked a lot about it. And then when she was, sending me the video clips, and I was just like, wow, my son, well, two of my sons have had multiple suicide attempts. And today we talk very openly about how we're doing. We know when we ask, how are you today? It goes both ways. We want to know the real answers. We don't gloss over the difficult things, but we also talk over the reasons we have to live.
Thank you, Karen. Anyone want to add anything, share, or ask a question? Yeah, Lexi.
So what has been like a moment in your life where it's been like a big moment where you've been like, this is it, this is why I'm here? Yes.
I think when I started speaking openly about my story, about my dad, totally forgot the question. I'm trying too hard to think of, sorry.
A moment when you've decided this is why I'm here.
Just being able to have these opportunities and like people coming up to me and thanking me and like, just like that meant a lot, or, I felt that too, or, just it has brought connection.
I would say So I went to St. Anselm's, and at St. Anselm's, I started a club for mental health called Active Minds. And with the club, I was actually able to do a speech with Manny through the Inner Own Voice speaking at the school. So I got to do that in front of my school and to different classmates and everything like that. And I guess it's maybe not the best answer, but after that, I would notice that like on the weekends, if I was at like a party or even just out on campus, I would have random people who I've never really met. Or maybe only talked to like once or twice, come up to me and kind of just start talking to me about their mental health. And it was, in my opinion, awesome because it was cool that even though some of them I actually have never even spoken to before, they felt comfortable enough to just talk to me about their mental health, and they felt comfortable enough to just talk about it in general.
So was it the act of compassion and the response that you got from people, something that said, hey, it may be worth it?
Yeah, I would say so, because when I first started doing any volunteering with mental health, my goal was all I care about is I just want to help one person. So,
I think help. Thank you, Jordan. Karen.
Such a big question, and I think of like all these little moments. I don't think there's been one big moment,
The lemonade moment.
but I also think about when I finally started talking publicly about my mental health and about suicide. And people started approaching me and sharing their own stories. And realizing that what I'd been through was not something to be ashamed of, but something that I could actually use to create hope. You know, that there's so much power in that. Yeah.
Thanks, Lexi. Anyone else?
Yeah, so in the film, one of the speakers had mentioned, we're not doing a great job collectively at suicide prevention, but also we're not doing a bad job, but there was room for improvement. My question is, if the sky was the limit, you had a limitless budget and you could enact any change you wanted, what would you want to see happening in suicide prevention space in New Hampshire and beyond?
I think a proper mental health system, like with actual like thing like that, because I feel like we're constantly fighting against the system. So
System that works.
yeah.
Thank you, Alexa.
I would say start young, start with kids and teach them early on to communicate actually how they're feeling. I notice, or I know for at least myself, I didn't know how to explain what I was going through, even though I knew what was happening. I could put some labels to it, but I couldn't really explain or advocate for myself. And that's kind of why it wasn't until I was 20 that I knew anything about mental health. So,
Start young.
I agree.
And I don't think it's necessarily if I had all the money in the world, I could fix it. I don't think it's a money thing. I think it's a people thing. I think that the more that we come out and share our own stories and how we actually feel, we invite other people to have the safety to do the same thing. And I think, you know, I think about all the years that I hid what I was going through. And didn't feel safe sharing. And the first few times I shared about it, I didn't feel particularly, I was scared. You know, I was really scared of how people were gonna respond. And but I think it's kind of a shame that I wasn't brave enough to share earlier than what I did. And I think when we share our own stories, we create that safe place for other people to share theirs too.
Well, Alexa, thank you. Jordan, Karen, we really appreciate your sharing. I think we all have had experiences and we know how important it is to talk about it and to learn and to try and change the system. And thank you for sharing everything you believe about NAMI.
Yes.
That's really, really
I mean,
great.
I could go on.
And all
but
you're
I mean,
doing
no.
together. So, we'll be through it.
So, thank you so much, Lucy. I really appreciate you always, and, we'll we'll get working on fixing that system next week.
Right now.
That's it. And I want to thank everyone for being here tonight, and most of all, I want to thank our panelists. And yes, please. And I did not pay them to say all of that about NAMI, New Hampshire, but, truly you are amazing, trailblazers and certainly wonderful standard bearers for our alliance. We talk a lot about when people share their stories and how brave they are, and you're certainly incredibly brave. But you're also incredibly compassionate and caring, and thank you for caring for all of us tonight, as you
Absolutely.
did. Truly, we are incredibly grateful.